Hi, welcome to class. We're the only two right now, but the other ones will show up eventually, right? I hate my life. I hate my life. And Professor Sunrise Productions!
Hello class, Professor Sunrise here. In today's class we're gonna take a look at my current Spright list in a replay, so I'm not gonna give you guys the deck profile yet. I'm waiting either for my cards to arrive or maybe I'm gonna do it in a virtual way on Dueling Book tomorrow or like the day after that, depending on the amount of testing and the amount of time I've got. But I feel like the format is actually in a pretty good spot, but more on that probably later on in the video, where we'll probably discuss the shape of the format maybe like in a few days, or maybe once the format actually took off and I like talk about my first day of Dueling Book. But anyways, without further ado, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave some feedback down below. I did that a little bit too early, and let's get right into the replay. So here we are in the replay. We are against Poe DW. We are in the rock, paper, scissors. We are on roughly the same amount of rating, as you can see here. I've slowly been picking up the rating again. So let's pause here for a second. They are on pure Runics. Opening hand is Flashing Fires, Nip, Veiler, Freezing Curse, and Tip. This is basically the best hand you can ask for. You have both the two best Runic spells, plus the Searcher, plus the God combo of hand trips. We are on Desires, Ghost Spells, Smashes, Veiler, and Blue. As you can see, we are on a quite different list than what's been up there. This is post Banlist Spright. So yeah, let's just take a look at it. We start off with the Desires. Reasoning for everything like in this deck list will be, of course, in the profile, which I'm uploading in a few days. I just want to get a little bit more testing in. So the Desires, of course, resolves. We are on Red and Jet. Let's take a look at the banishes. As you can see, I am playing the, I don't even know what the engine is called. Beckoning Beast engine, Dark Summoning Beast engine, whatever, we are on that. And as you can see, the rest of the banish is pretty standard. It's just a shit ton of hand traps, some Spright cards. So yeah. Let's look, our draws were insane. Red plus Jet is like insane if you really want that. So effect Blue here. I'm still getting used to the deck, so this was definitely a bad search here. We should have just searched another Jet for follow-up, because we don't actually have something to summon off Gigantic in this list. Like really needed, as you've already drawn blue, red, and we have the Carrot Search. We didn't really need it. This should have been another Jet. I quickly noticed it here. We summoned the Jet here. We get, of course, the starter, because we already have the Smashers, and as you can see, yeah, we'll be able to see that later on, I think. So now we overlay into Gigantic, effect Gigantic here. They, of course, meet us with a Nibiru. We decide to chain Red, get rid of Carrot, and they avail us on that. That's actually okay. We could, in theory, extend here into an Elf, with this daughter, of course. Making it so that we get Elf revive any of these two, and then next turn we can use Elf to get back Jet and still get the starter, but that made us so that we were one starter off. Like, we would just use more of our resources that way. Like more copies of starter, more copies of Elf. And I didn't really feel like it was necessary for that. So we just decided to set both. We can just activate starter, search, summon Jet, search another starter, and then use the Smashes. This does play into another hand trap, but at this point I feel like I've got hand trap twice. The likelihood of us getting another hand trap is not that high. They immediately go battle phase. So this either meant for me, okay, they don't really have a lot of plays, or the play they have is like very susceptible and they really want to get rid of the token before anything happens. Now, of course, it's obvious why they went into battle phase immediately, because they are on Runics. So they activate Tip for the field spell. Of course, we have two ways to deal with the field spell, so we are pretty good to go. We have to banish here for one. Activate Runic Fountain, we banish a Jet. So here it really pays off that we saved our main deck resources, or extract resources, because we're up against Runic. So it's low tempo and it just banishes our hand, our deck. So of course it's really good. Here we activate the starter, so we have immediate access to Smashes on the Fountain. Effect Jet, get the starter, of course, so we have a play for next turn. And soon I think the big misplay is gonna happen. I don't know why I'm not searching here. Okay, we get the starter. Of course, really good really good follow-up. They decide to act the Smithing Storm. Smitting Storm, I guess, to banish the 2 cards. Then they activate Fountain, and here we definitely should have Ghost Belt first, especially because the deck just plays like a quick effect pop. And I was just very greedy, wanted to get rid of the Fountain, but honestly, once you've negated the first draw for them, it's kind of hard for them to recover, and the Fountain just loses a lot of its value. So you don't really have to greed, especially if the deck has an in engine out for the play you're doing, and you have a way to play around it. Definitely just Ghost Spill it, because here we basically lose because they get to draw 2, and we only have 1 play next turn, and they draw Ash and Flashing Fire, so they have like 2 disruptions against us, and we don't really have a play. We draw another starter, which of course does basically nothing. We have to pass turn here. They draw another Ash, of course, so really cool for us to just get Ashed again. And at this point, it's basically game because they have amassed too many resources and we are out of starters. And all of our plays lose to way too much. And we actually need to still draw 2. And with the amounts of cards we still had in deck, like we had 1 jet here, we had 2 jets there, so there were no more jets. We have 1 blue there, so we have 2 blues. I think red is still in the deck because we are playing 2 of that. Yeah, we barely have any Spright cards left in our deck, so I just decided to skip it here. Go to game 2, definitely should have Ghost Belt there first. Probably would have won that, because they wouldn't have drawn into the Ash, and then next turn I would have just killed them. And we decided to let them go first, just because the deck doesn't really put on a lot, and we have quite a good amount of defensive cards against them, with Cosmic Cyclones, of course, being insane, but also a Feather Duster or a Lightning Storm can put in some work and at least trade 1 for 1 with one of their back rows. They are on Lava Golem, Ogre, Ash, Ultimate Slayer, and Runic Destruction. So they just passed turn, so that was a very good thing of us to do. We are still afraid of like a nip play, so we are not trying to commit too much here, especially because our hand is insane. With Cosmic, Ash, Desires, Feather Duster, Red plus Blue, we are super good to go. They activate Blue. We normal summon Red, summon Blue to activate it. Get Jet. Then activate Jet. Effect Jet here. To, I think, search a smash. We actually get the starters here because we want the follow-up. We go into Gigantic on 4th summon so they cannot nip us on it. And if it gets negated, we don't really put a lot of emphasis on the Gigantic anymore. Especially if we draw 2 Spright cards. We don't really need Gigantic, actually. It's just like a nice way to just get that additional negate out, but it's definitely not necessary. We get hit by an Ogre, which I definitely was not expecting, as Ogre is just really not popular right now. But we just get hit on it and it's fine. We activate Red. We go Battle Phase, attack with Red, not activated. We set Starter and Cosmic. Same reason as before. I don't really feel like using my main deck resources to go into an Elf to get follow-up, especially because Red doesn't really do a lot against this matchup. So it's not like I really want that negate. And I could, of course, get a Carrot and do that, but then on Stamper Phase, they would just get rid of my Elf, and I would get rid of it anyways and wouldn't get any follow-up with it, just because they play in the Stamper Phase so well. So I just decided to set the starter again, go for the Jet Search starter play in the opponent's turn. They bait in evenly here. They don't have anything. They're drawn impermanence, which is definitely something which you never want to fall for against Runic. Think about it. They 9 out of 10 times won't be able to use evenly match. Why would they play this card? Of course, you can use it because on the first turn you can skip all of the other spells, but lots of times there's some spell trap negate on there, and you really want to have that. So it honestly, it probably was just a little dumb on my part, but it's fine. We get the value out of our Jet, and we activate Starter. I don't know why they didn't Ash this. Doesn't make any sense because okay, yeah, they can get the other starter. They can Ash the starter we add. But honestly, oh, okay, of course, they're not Ash because they want to resolve Lava Golem, but then again, Lava Golem doesn't do a lot against us, so I guess it's fine. So the Lava Golemas, we are fine with that. They set their spell traps, and we have a shit ton of stuff to do, so we don't really care. Here we take 1,000, we have a Harpy's Feather Duster. They chain Runic Destruction to special summon, then send this to the graveyard or destroy it. I don't know, I think it sends to graveyard. Can banish it. Banishes, of course. So they protect their impermanence, which is still not a lot. And as you can see, we still have 2 Cosmics, so we are more than fine. By the way, I didn't shotgun the Cosmic here just because, just in case they have like 2 Runic cards, or like 1 Runic card plus like a few Floodgates. Like 1 Floodgate, I really wanted to be able to snipe that Floodgate and not just blindly hit that. So yeah, in the end, it doesn't really matter as we have top decked another one. So it didn't matter. We started here, they ash us, we Pot of Desires, which is an insane card in this deck. You don't really care about too much about the main deck resources because you play everything in multiples now that the Frog Engine is banned. So yeah, we draw Vela Blue, that's all we needed. We just needed to be able to normal summon one Spright name. Any level 2 did it at this point just because our graveyard was already set up. And then we go into Elf. And we go for full Spright Engine. By the way, we banished 1 carrot. We still have 1 carrot in the deck because we're playing 2 carrot, 2 red actually. But more on that, of course, in the actual profile. And by the way, I'm not forgetting you Virtual Mami Shenshin enjoys out there. I'm definitely also going to do an updated profile for the Virtual deck. Though I am pretty sure I wouldn't change anything about it apart from the side deck. And the side deck, of course, is like in disguise what you really want to play in there. Of course, you could go for like some broad ideas, but honestly, it's not really feasible to do on a solid side deck for now. But I'm definitely going to give you guys an updated deck list and maybe even talk about how I think Virtual World will perform in the upcoming format, the way I think it is going to look, at least for the first few weeks. So, game 3, we are forced to go second. Opening hand for them is Smiting Storm, I don't fucking know, Impermanence, Dispelling, Freezing Curse, and Golden Droplet. Gotta love some pee in my face. That was a joke, of course. We are on blue, Lightning Storm, red, Jet, and Smashers. Lightning Storm, of course, is not the ideal card against Runic, just because they can just chain any of their spells, but it's better than a dead hand trap. So at least it trades 1 for 1, and if they only have good Runic cards, at least it trades with a pop or an impermanence, so that's fine. At best, it's like a Cosmic or at best it's an MST, so this is still fine against the back row matchup. And if you have multiples of them, you can just wait a turn because they're not gonna kill you, right? So they activate Golden Droplets to special summon, Smiting Storm to Smiting Storm to banish, because I didn't banish anything, just so that they could get 2 in the graveyard and then set Impermanence, and now they have Dispelling and Freezing Curse in their hand. Cosmic off the top here, by the way, would have been game. So very risky not to set these. We draw Dark Beckoning Beast, so that's a really good pickup for us. They don't have the pop. They have the Negate, they have the Punish for Research, and they have an Impermanence. So here we normal summon the Dark Beckoning Beast, effect Dark Beckoning Beast. Really glad of, by the way, with how this engine is playing out in this deck. For all of you who don't know, because we cannot actually resolve it here, I'm actually gonna pause it for a second. Dark Beckoning Beast is an insane starter for this deck because it searches Opening of the Spirit Gates. Opening of the Spirit Gates searches another Dark Beckoning Beast, and then you can normal summon an additional Dark Beckoning Beast because this card lets you normal summon another Fiend monster with 0 attack and defense. And then you have 2 level 2 bodies to go into Gigantic or Elf or whatever, or into Djinn Buster to get an extra disruption on the opponent. And then you have the permanent spell Opening of to the Spirit Gates, where you can discard 1 and revive 1 of the Dark Beckoning Beasts. So both of them are actually 1-card starters into your whole engine. So that's really good, and they just give you a way to play through a Gamma if you open this gate. They give you Dark Monsters, so you can make Djinn Buster way more easily, making so that your end board is actually just still pretty strong. I'm super glad to showcase you guys the deck profile on that. Really glad with how this deck is actually playing out. So we get Freezing Curse on the Beckoning Beast, making us banish 3. We don't really banish anything too worthwhile here. Of course, we're playing 2 Smashers just because 2 Smashers feel so good already post side. And with the Zeiss in the main deck, it just made sense to play 2 of it. Of course, this is a bad card going second, but it's basically the only brick we are playing now that the Frog Engine is gone. So I feel like the 2 bricks are still fine. They activated the Fountain here to draw 3. We sadly have no interaction with that as we don't have anything in the graveyard yet. They draw an Ash, they draw an Destruction, and they draw an Nibiru. All annoying things apart from the Destruction, I feel like, because we don't really care about that too much yet. So we special summon blue. As long as they didn't draw the pop, we were all fine and dandy. We search Carrot here. Now they activate Dispelling. Of course, would be bad for them to hit the Carrot, but we also have a dead card in our hand, which they hit, so that's pretty cool. We banished 2, only 2 hand traps, we don't care about that. Special summon Carrot, so now the 1 disruption they have is turned off. The spell Trap Disruption. We go into Gigantic on the 4th summon. red on the 5th summon, and now we can use the Gigantic to bait in a disruption, and we don't really care about that. Like I said, Gigantic is not really that insane as a card anymore if you draw a lot of Spright cards, because you realistically only have 3 targets, I would say, and the 1 blue can search any other of the targets, so it can search any of these. So if you have a blue, the amount of targets you can summon basically goes to 2. So if you draw another one, you don't really have any of them, and we've drawn, I think, 3 Spright cards, so we don't really need this. So this is like a very nice bait. A lot of people, especially because this is the nip protection, will still just hand trap this, and you can just chill with red and carrot and don't use it, and just trade one, like just hand trap them for 1, which is really good. So now we activate Jet, and this still forces out so many disruptions, because T-Elements cannot fusion anymore. Mathmech, for example, couldn't use their trap, stuff like that. So this card still puts a lot of pressure on, even if you don't really summon anything worthwhile out of the deck. And I feel like this is also like very high rolling of me just drawing a shit ton of Spright names. Normally you wouldn't draw as many Spright cards, and you will always summon something with this which is worthwhile. It's just, I think, in this match where I've just drawn Spright names all over the place, where I don't really do a lot with it. So we summoned the Jet here, baiting with the Gigantic, of course, which was really cool because this was the only thing which we could have summoned. But he already had it in hand, so that's really good for us. So we get to search here, search starter, and now we are, I think, good to go here. This card doesn't do anything. They have Ash Nib, but we are fine with that. We go into an Elf. Elf revive the Gigantic here, so that way we can destroy with our red or our carrot. Of course, carrot wouldn't really come up unless it's on the fountain. Most importantly, it's for the red if they have a nib. We go battle phase. I think at this point they don't have a nib, because you would have just used this nib here to just minimize the damage. But maybe they wanted to bait me into going for a Zeus here. Just because we are still not level 2 locked or rank 2 locked, because we haven't activated starter and Gigantic got negated. So we could definitely go into a Zeus here, which of course is like a really good card against Runic. Getting rid of the field spell is always good. Maybe that was the game plan of our opponent. I think about it here, but in hindsight, I don't really want to lose my resources, so Zeus doesn't really feel worth it, and I want to be able to negate and destroy Runic Fountain at all costs. So they decide to activate Nibiru here. We red negate. It gets destroyed. They open a Lava Golem off the top, which of course is insane. Going for Elf and Carrot here. We decide to... I think on this, you basically have to activate Starter. Just because if they go for any nasty plays, we of course want to not banish the red, but like banish the random Jet or blue which we summon. They ash that. That is pretty annoying. Now they probably activate Runic Destruction and go for a draw 2 on this unknown Smashers, but it's pretty obvious it's the Smashers. We chain Smashers here. We are forced to, so we are out of engine. We banish 4, and look at these banishes: a Veiler, a Cosmic, an Ash, and an opening of the Spirit Gate, which I think was still alive. So that was the one starter which we would have needed to win here. We draw on Desires, which is also a pretty good starter, if you ask me. We Desires, banish 10, draw Cosmic, draw Jet, which is basically the perfect draw. Even if they somehow get into a Mystic Mine or anything like that, we still have a Jet, but we basically don't need it because we normal summon Jet, go into battle phase, and go for game. So, hope you guys enjoyed this quick replay analysis of me playing my basically pure Spright at this point. No procs, nothing, just pure good old Spright. I feel like this deck is in a very good spot, but of course I'm going to talk about my reasoning for that in a later video. I hope you guys enjoyed this replay analysis. This class is dismissed. You guys are free to leave. Professor Sunrise out. Peace.